please be upstanding for the Mayor.
Good evening, councillors. Good evening. Before we begin business, just a gentle reminder to anyone, including the gallery, to respect the proceedings tonight. Any interruptions obviously will be disturbing us and will be dealt with if necessary. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask you, before I hand over to Reverend Keithley for prayers, we're going to hold a minute's silence. Obviously we know about Peter, the mayoral attendant, who sadly passed away on the 12th of December, and also we have a staff member, council compliance officer Lisa Drew, who passed away over the Christmas period. So I'd appreciate a minute's silence from everybody before we go any further. Thank you. Can I ask Reverend Keithley to say prayers for us while we all remain standing?
We give thanks for the lives of Peter Hutton and Lisa Drew and their years of service to this council. We thank you for our memories of them. And we remember those closest to them who mourn their passing. And we pray for all the officers and staff of this council in their work in the service of this borough. Guide the work of this council, that we might serve the best interests of the people of this borough, and guide us in our deliberations, in the exercise of the powers and responsibilities entrusted to us, and in the business before us tonight. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Keithley. Please be seated. Before we begin, we've got the usual housekeeping announcements. There are no fire alarm tests planned for this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door, then follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. So can I remind everyone to make sure your phones and tablets are all on silent. Also, a gentle reminder to everybody in the chamber, obviously we ask everyone to respect the councillors and officers and the business being carried through. So if anybody does interrupt, obviously it will have to be dealt with. You also have the right to film this meeting, so if you wish to, I'd like to know before we begin whether anyone in the room plans to do this, and if you intend to film the meeting or part of it, will you please raise your hand or arm now? I take that as a no? Yes? Councillor Marinell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As councillors will be aware, Wyre Council were accredited with the Armed Forces Covenant Silver Award, which everyone, councillors, staff and residents should be rightly proud of. As the Armed Forces lead, it was my intention to push for the Gold Award, which was being actively pursued. However, once LGR raised its head, going for the Gold Award, when the council will probably not be around in a couple of years, was, I believe, not a good use of officers' resources. Every few years, the council still have to show that they are complying with all the aspects of being a Silver Award holder. And this work has been taking place over the past number of months. So I'm very proud to say that last Tuesday, Wyre Council were informed that we retained the Silver Award. This is a great achievement and shows the commitment of this council to all our armed forces personnel. I would like to thank all of the officers from different departments within the council for all the work they have done to make this happen, and particular thanks must go to Mark Whittaker, as he was the main lead on this project. Thank you. Councillors, I thought I would take the chance tonight to make you all aware of the coming change to planning matters, given my next chance to do so might not be until the end of March this year. In the last few years, parts of Wyre have seen a marked increase in the number of houses of multiple occupation, or HMOs. HMOs with 6 or fewer people in them do not need any form of planning permission. HMOs can be a healthy part of the housing supply in our towns, providing a low-cost housing choice for some who cannot afford other options. This often includes students or transient workers. The Council has reviewed the impact of HMOs from a planning perspective and found considerable harmful impact upon the character and amenity of our towns, especially in Fleetwood, Thornton and Cleveland. As a result, the evidence obtained, our officers, in consultation with myself, we are looking to implement an immediate Article 4 direction for HMOs, covering all wards in Fleetwood and Thornton and Cleveland. This will be brought into effect in the coming weeks and will be publicised accordingly. An Article 4 direction withdraws automatic planning permission granted to the General Permitted Development Order, GPDO, for HMOs. Therefore, all changes from Class C3 residential dwelling to Class C4 HMOs will now require planning permission, regardless of the number of people occupying the unit. This should result in a full consideration of planning matters before any HMO may open in the affected areas. I trust that all councillors, especially Bob Vale, will see the benefit of this change. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
You're picking on the different areas.
Thank you, councillor. Apologies for absence. We've received apologies from councillors B. Stevenson, Higginson, Wells, Bolton and Smith. Are there any more apologies? Take that as no.
Where's she coming? Oh, good there, sorry. My apologies. There we are. My apologies, I'm here.
For apologies. We move on to confirmation of minutes. We've got 2 sets of minutes to approve this evening. So can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 20th of November 2025 be approved as a correct record? Who's proposing?
Propose those, Mr Mayor.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Mr Mayor.
Does anybody want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? No? So would those members present at the 20th of November meeting who are in favour of confirming the minutes as a correct record, please indicate clearly by raising your arm. Thank you. It looked like it's unanimous. So the minutes of the 20th of November meeting are confirmed. So could I now have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of November 2025 be approved as a correct record? Can I have a proposer?
Yeah, I'll propose those, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I'll second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Again, does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? time for a vote. Those to accept the minutes as correct? Thank you. Those minutes are accepted. Next item on the agenda are declarations of interest. So I need to remind you that on the 30th of September 2025, the Audit and Standards Committee reaffirmed the granting of a dispensation for all councillors to participate and vote on the setting of the council's LCTs for the purposes of the Local Government Finance Act 2012, on the grounds that it's in the interests of persons living in the borough for as many members as possible to be able to debate and decide on this issue. In addition, dispensation was granted for decisions relating to councillor allowances on the grounds that without the dispensation, the numbers of persons prohibited from participating in any particular business would be so great that a proportion of the body transacting the business as to impede the transaction of the business itself. Councillors do not therefore need to declare an interest in agenda items 8 and 9 just because they may receive localised council tax support and or allowance payments. And on that basis, apart from what I've just read out, do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any items included in the agenda? No, thank you. Item 4, announcements. Obviously we had a minute's silence for Peter Hutton. Those of us who've worked closely with him, all of you have been here longer than me, so you'll appreciate how big a shock it was for him. And again, to lose any member of staff is a blow. I think a lot has been said about Peter. I know the turnout for his funeral was exceptional. So we've already heard from Councillor Lily Marinell. Has anybody got a statement they wish to make? No?
I'll miss him.
Well said.
I'll miss him. I'm seeing him stood there.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year to you, fellow councillors, officers and members of the public. Yeah, the Wyre Reform Group would like to extend our sympathy to Peter Hutton's and Lisa Drew's families. We're sorry for the loss. We echo the nice words said about Peter. Peter was a great man, I'm sure you'll all agree. He always had time for us all. So Peter will be sadly missed. Also, I've got another announcement to make, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor. With regards to the opposition scaremongering over care homes recently. The scaremongering was not accidental.
They've had to withdraw it from Facebook. I've seen the letter saying they haven't been.
This is not an announcement, Mr. Mayor. No, this is an excuse.
They've also had to withdraw their incorrect announcement on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
I think we need to move on. I take your point and I know where you're going with it. And I think everybody else does, thanks.
Okay.
Next
Thank you,
business.
Mr. Mayor.
I think Councillor Vincent put his hand up first.
Yes, I'll say no more about what's just happened there. Yeah, on behalf of the Conservative Group, I'm sure all councillors, I've been a councillor for quite a long time, 19 years in May. Peter was the Mayor's attendant when my dad was Mayor all those years ago, and he's been the Mayor's attendant the entire time I've been here. He served the borough and its people and its mayors with a sense of great dignity that others would benefit from, and he will both be missed. I know his family will miss him greatly, but we will all miss him as well. And he was truly the last of his type in Lancashire, and possibly one of the last of his type in the country. You don't get many people with that sense of dignity and pride like Peter had in the country anymore, let alone the role of a Mayor's attendant. So it's a real loss to the borough.
Well said, thank you, councillor. I think we all agree with that. Councillor Rushford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am a relatively new councillor, but I would see Peter here on a regular monthly basis. I would see him at any processions we attended together. I would jump into the car with him if I was tired. I always thought he was such a lovely man, but after attending his funeral, he was indeed a very, very exceptional man who did so many good things for so many people, and I miss him. And I didn't know him that well, but he made a big impression on me.
Thank you very much. I think we all agree with that. Yeah. We do have a public question.
So, Mr. President.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo the sentiments about Peter and Lisa, they will be sadly missed. I've known Peter for 10 or 11 years. I've been a councillor, and it's been amazing, really. He's always been, you know, he's persistently been there all the time, helping members. And outside of this council as well, I mean, he was involved in the community centre at up Beach Road in Jubilee Ward, and he was the first to help out when I said, you know, it was changing hands from a council building to a community church, and he was the first to say, come along if you want your councillor surgeries in our community centre, you're more than welcome. He says, just set up in the corner of the cafe, and he was really, really welcoming. He was, you know, and that's the sort of thing you want to be seeing from people, and he's a sad loss to his family and an extremely sad loss to this council.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillor. I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you, councillor.
I just want to say, coming into this particular building can be quite daunting for anybody, and I found Peter, for as little I know about it, to be a very friendly and welcoming man. I can honestly say that's probably testament to his character, I'd imagine. So, all I know about him, very pleasant individual.
Thank you for that, much appreciated. We do have public question tonight. It's been accepted by the Chief Executive, and the question's been submitted by Mr Martin Woodcock for Councillor Vincent to respond. And this has been attached to your agenda packs at page 13. So we have Mr Martin Woodcock in attendance, so you're already at the lectern to read out your question. So you've got 5 minutes. If you can keep it in that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Leader of the Council, Councillors, Council Officers. As has been said, my name is Martin Woodcock. I reside in Tidebourne Ward in Poulton, and I'm a Wyre Borough Council taxpayer. My 3 questions are as follows. Are Wyre Borough Council aware of what will happen to the financial reserves and balances, surpluses, that Wyre Borough Council currently hold when Wyre Borough Council are amalgamated with a larger authority? Question 2 is, have any discussions taken place with adjacent authorities or our 2 local MPs or the relevant government department regarding the subject of financial reserves? Third question, are Wyre Borough Council aware of any previous local government reorganisations where an existing surplus has been reallocated, and how was it apportioned? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Woodcock, for your question. My answer to your 3 questions will merge into one a little bit. So there's been no official statement from government with regards to this coming round of local government reorganisation, specifically about reserves, but they have been very clear that that's something that will be decided locally. Now, if you were asking me about what would happen to debt, that would be a much more complicated answer, but in all the local government reorganisations, so Cumbria, the one that's going on in Surrey at the moment, the previous one in Northamptonshire, every council's reserves have gone with it into its new authority in full. So that suggests, and all the council leaders that I've spoken to and all the officers are all working on the basis that whatever council Wyre becomes part of on vesting day, so the day they take over from us, whatever our balances are at midnight on that day will go to that new authority. So they will go with us to the new authority, basically. We don't have a cast iron guarantee on that from government at this stage, but they certainly have never said anything to the contrary, and that's the assumption we're all working on. We do get regular briefings from the government, but in terms of discussions, it's more they invite us to webinars and tell us what they want us to hear. It's not something we've discussed with the local MPs at this stage, but that's quite natural. We wouldn't necessarily talk to them about our plans for spending. We would more talk to them about high-level priorities that we each have. With regards to other councils, we haven't talked about the detail of reserves and plans and things yet, but mainly because we don't know who we're going in with. So once we know who we're going to be in with, then this council will have limitations placed on its ability to spend its own money, because we will have to consider the benefit of the council, but also that unitary authority. So there will be some statutory limitations on some of the things we can spend money on above certain amounts, but until they announce who we're going in with, none of that applies. So I hope that answers all your questions.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Mr Woodcock, you do have the opportunity to raise a supplementary question if you wish, but it must arise directly from the original question or the reply given. Do you wish to?
I wish to.
Thank you.
Just one short question. I presume then that the correspondence that was issued by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Governments on the 24th of July, they published an explanatory note to all councils undergoing reorganisation to ensure decisions regarding ongoing service delivery and the medium-term financial strategy of existing councils do not compromise the future sustainability of the new councils. So I assume Wyre Borough Council are in line with that.
Yeah. So we wouldn't take any decision that would cause any financial hardship either now or in the future for the residents of Wyre and the services that they rely on, either before or after we cease to exist. So we're not going to start recklessly spending money, nor are we also going to not take decisions that we consider to be in the best interest of the people of Wyre. So yeah, we are completely in line with that. We're following the guidance to the letter.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. That concludes questions or statements from the public. We've received no questions or notice from councillors, so the next item is item 7, executive reports. And a gentle reminder that each speaker has 3 minutes only, and there'll be 10 minutes of speaking overall for each executive report. I may refuse a supplementary question in order to ensure that as many different members as possible are able to ask a question or make a comment within the 10 minutes allocated. So firstly, can I ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Vincent, to make his report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to take any questions. I don't really have much to give.
Thank you, Councillor. I think Councillor Fales. Councillor Fales, the first one.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is regarding the wind farms. We've got pollution at Hill House Enterprise Zone. We've got an enterprise zone that is massively underperforming against the job creation boasts in the original master plan. We've also got the enterprise zone still making plans for dirty energy projects. We've got nearly half our workforce commuting out of Wyre on a daily basis due to a lack of good jobs. None of this is good news. The Orsted and other wind farm projects are an opportunity for clean energy delivered by Stammer and a revitalised Hill House Enterprise Zone, creating hundreds of jobs in itself and promoting the chances of a reinstated rail line and a rejuvenation of Fleetwood Port. This is Wyre's chance to put right some of today's problems, create opportunities for tomorrow, and at the same time help resolve some of the residual issues of yesterday. Yes, it's predicated on a viable plan that actually makes a positive impact on our environment, But on the face of it, this is a chance of a lifetime that we cannot afford to miss.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you wish to respond to that, Councillor Vincent?
It was more of a statement than a question, but I did meet with County Councillor Roberts, who is the portfolio holder at Lancashire County Council for the environment. Now, I attended that meeting to support Wyre filed an LCC jointly commissioning the Green Book work, the government work basically they want to see for the project to build a new substation on Hill House to replace the one at Stanner. I thought that was a good meeting. I made very clear when I attended that meeting that I did so because we were presented with an economic development opportunity. We shouldn't go into conversations like that thinking this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We have to win one argument at a time. I know that the MP is working hard to try and get the to Orsted to scope both plans, both through Stanner and the existing plan at the same time. She's doing that. What we need to do is do that effectively to the government for that work, so they've got the information that they need. What came out of that meeting was a draft letter that was very disappointing because it didn't make the case for economic development and it didn't really even mention Morvannin. It literally just said you should move Morecambe and Morgan. Now, the changes to Morecambe and Morgan, we don't know what impact that's going to have on that project, whether it's even going to be viable anymore. That's a bit more up in the air. There is more time now that Orsted has been delayed, but I can't be more clear that I agree with you that it is an opportunity for us to push on with that project. There is a clear plan and it would benefit the Orsted. Orsted are in favour of it if it can happen. So for me, it needs to happen, but because it crosses across so many government departments, it does need Lorraine to get somebody quite senior to be on board with it and push it through, because planning won't push it through on their own, economic development won't push it through on their own. It needs somebody higher than that to say we're in favour of that. So we'll do our bit, but the government need to deliver on their bit as well, because I agree entirely it's a positive news story. It could be very good for Wyre.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. We have two more hands go up. Councillor Cartridge and then Councillor Belshaw after that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Under the last Conservative administration at LCC, 93.7% of potholes were repaired in 10 days. And 99.4% were repaired in 20 days county-wide. First, can you comment on Reform's record? Also, please can you comment on their promise and broken promise not to raise council tax? How will this impact on the borough?
Councillor Vincent, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Cartridge. So, as members will be aware, the County Council are increasing their county tax by 3.8%. That has a huge impact on residents. I acknowledge that county councils are under financial strain, but the Reform stood on a ticket of freezing or cutting council tax. And you can boast all you want, 3.8% is not as big as it could have been, but 3.8% is not freezing or cutting council tax. You also refer to the fact that the Reform Party stood on a ticket with regards to repairing more potholes, but their 10-day and 20-day response time in Wyre are significantly lower than the figures you quote. They are 89% for 10-day and 87% for 20-day, and the performance county-wide has also dropped. So of the two promises they made to the electorate that were actually anything to do with Lancashire County Council, they've broken both of them.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. We have two more. Councillor Belshaw, please.
Good evening, Michael.
Good evening.
Councillor Vincent. I'm coming to you as an old woman who lived in her shoes. Kids are all over the country. I was on my way back. I've not looked Michael. Nobody hear me. It'll be a shame. Anyway, coming back from Cardiff, very happy, looking forward to getting in my own bed again. I've been away 2 whole weeks. Coming down Mounder's Way and what? I suddenly got this urge to be sick. The landfill. It's great saying we're pushing the EA, but can we not work together as a council and the Environment Agency to shut this place down? It's awful. If you had to live in it, I'm sure you'd understand. I'm sure you can empathise that we're living it, but living in it, it's like living in the bottom of a bin and somebody's not changed it for a long time. I don't want to be in my hometown that I love so much. It really, really is beyond a joke. So can we please, as a council, get with the EA and shut them down?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Vincent.
I would absolutely love to, Councillor Belshaw, but the problem is we only have the powers that we have given to us by government. I know that we are pushing the EA for it, and I was in Fleetwood over Christmas. As you know, my dad lives very, very close to the site, and it was appalling. You know, my family driving over to see my dad in the car on a mountainous way on Christmas Eve or Boxing Day, whichever it was. They had the windows closed, and it absolutely stank. So when the Environment Agency say to us, well, you know, they've got a gas management plan, they're doing this, they're doing that.
They say it every week.
Well, they do, yeah. And I challenged them last meeting or the meeting before, because we meet with them every Friday. Said, well, if their gas management plan, their excuse was that it was cold. But if you've got a landfill site in Fleetwood, in the north of England, and you can't cope with it being cold, then you've not got a suitable gas management plan. So we have these conversations, and the difficulty is that the officers on the ground for the EA get it. They've been on side for a long time. They know what the residents have been through. They're the ones taking all the flak. They're the ones who smell it when they go out to the site. They understand, but it's not their decision, just like it's not mine. So the people that we apply pressure to every week are on side, and they tell us they're going to try something different, and they're going to speak to a different team, and they're doing what they can.
Right.
But the difficulty that they face is it gets run up the chain to legal or whoever, and they don't have the appetite for the risk, or they haven't done up until this point. Now,
do you want me to come?
Yeah. Now, all I can say from a positive perspective about what the council are doing, rightly or wrongly, our tactics with regards to getting as many people across Fleetwood as possible to fill out the diary sheets has not worked. We don't have the evidence we need. So instead, what we're doing is we're focusing on a small area and a small concentrated area of people who we hope who are most affected by it, probably know the people I'm referring to, and they are going to hopefully work with us to fill in those diary sheets, go out in the middle of the night if we need to, do what we need to do on that smaller area, and by focusing our attention on them, we may get the evidence we need. But I repeat, statutory nuisance abatement notice is not the answer. It's going to see us in court, it's going to see us put pressure on them, it's going to see it go very public. My concern, though, is that people think that that's going to mean it closes tomorrow. It's not. You saw with Wally's Quarry that all they did was oppose it in court, and that only got dropped, their opposition to it only got dropped when the company went bust.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. We're right on the edge of time, but Councillor Molyneux needs to ask a question, so could I ask you to do it as briefly as you can?
Certainly. Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Basically, we can't do them on one thing with these diary sheets, this, that and the other. What about on a breach of contract? Because the review of the lease, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the lease, but the size of that thing, it's just enormous. I don't know whether it's gone above the actual written down from the original of how high they can actually go, but it certainly looks like it to me. And the settlement, it won't, there was something about settlement. It won't settle, not the way that it's happening. And if we ever get a landslide, God forbid, with the rain, and it slides down into the river.
So the height and those limitations are related to the planning permission rather than to the lease itself. We do have consultants going through the lease with the fine-tooth comb, and we are in the process of holding them to account on every comma and dot, etc. This review's been talked about quite a lot, but it's not really what people think it is. So the review is not a review where we can review the lease and say, well, that's not working for us, we don't like that, or we're having complaints, so you can't do that. It's just a review as to whether the government has passed any regulations or legislation that mean they can't do certain things legally, that they have to then stop doing, or we have to review the lease to make sure it's still compliant with the current rules. This is a smell issue. They are lawfully tipping landfill, many times in breach of their licence, and that can be proven, but they've rectified those breaches and then there's new breaches and we go around in this little merry dance. What it needs is the EA to say, right, you've had enough chances, we can have no confidence in you anymore as a licence holder and we're going to rescind your licence. And I cannot understand why they aren't at that stage after Christmas, but I was very disappointed with the response we got from the EA, because people didn't report as much over Christmas as they normally would do. There was a spike on one day, I think the 30th of December, but people wouldn't report it over Christmas because they wouldn't necessarily think people were going to be there. So it's disappointing, but it also to me speaks to the conduct of the licence holder, because actually they knew there was no EA working, they knew people weren't around, and shock horror, it was really bad.
I reported it about 5 times over.
There were reports, it just didn't spike like you would have expected given how bad it was.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. That concludes the consideration of the Leaders' Report, and we'll now move on to the report of the Resources Portfolio Holder. So, Councillor Mackay, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have got a terrible cough and I've got a horrible addiction to Fisherman's Friends at the moment. It's the only thing that's stopping me coughing. I've got one in at the moment, so I'll try and get through this. Just a quick forward to my report. As alluded to in the first paragraph, we have had the provisional local government settlement through in December. The new fair funding formula does indicate that this council will lose. There'll be a reduction in funding to the tune of around 2.4%, so that's around £213,000. Now, whilst we're definitely not one of the worst councils, but when you take this in addition to the fact that we've lost the business rates pooling, that's a value of about £750,000 to us. We know that it's going to be really challenging going forward. And I think a big thanks to Claire. I'm sure we've all had the briefing from Claire this week, and it's the prudence and the strong financial management we've had in previous years. It puts this council in a strong position for these challenging times coming forward. So yeah, my report's before members. Happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions for Councillor Mackay, despite her disabilities?
Yeah.
Anybody? Thank you, Councillor. Make your point.
May not be entirely for Councillor Mackay. 4.2, the paragraph makes reference to redevelopment of the Rangers and Volunteers accommodation at Wyre Country Park. Amongst other aspects, the proposal is to provide new accommodation which will be part funded by a grant of £140,000. Towards the foot of the paragraph it states the balance of the development costs will be sourced from the Council's own investment projects reserve. I would like to ask what effort the Council makes in trying to ensure all contractors, to include subcontractors for such work, come from within the Wyre Borough, and what assurity can the public have that not only do these projects come in at a professional quantity surveyor's estimations of costs, but that there is also no conflict of interest in terms of which companies such projects are awarded to. So, to be clear, what effort is made to keep contracts local, which of course aids more money staying local to support more local businesses? Does the Council insist on checking all estimates quotes by using a qualified quantity surveyor? If not, why not, when considering the cost-saving benefits, and what robust systems are in place to avoid the prospect of favouritism?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mackay.
Councillor Sorensen, I may have to come back to you on the second point for a more detailed answer, but I can confirm that any projects or any work that we have going out, it goes through formal tender processes that we have in place, and we have a duty of care in the way we do things. We have to have a value for money for our residents, so we have all those procedures and processes in place, and we have to adhere to them with every project and every sort of contract we enter into. There's a strong tendering process that we go through, but we do also take in mind, we obviously look to keep the work local, but we have to also get that value for money, and it has to be the right contractor. But I'll get you a fully detailed response that addresses each point, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Mackay. I think that concludes the consideration of the Resources Portfolio Holders Report. So we'll now move on to the report of the Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces Portfolio Holder, who is Councillor Simon Bridge. Could you introduce your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just an introduction. There's a slight mistake in para 2.1, which we mentioned staining, which obviously is in Fylde, not Wyre. I know. It's, maybe we're just getting a bit more avaricious and taking people's land. A little piece of parliament. Just something that happened yesterday in Fleetwood. Actually, Councillor Birch brought up to me that in the pathway between the golf course and the sea walk, I mean, I know it well from taking my dog down there, but I haven't been down a lot recently. Councillor Birch points out that there's a lot of dog fouling. So, sorting that out, we're going to have daily patrols there as well, so it's for the Fleetwood councillors, so you know. And we're looking at signage, but we're looking at all signage anyway. We need more clarity, but specifically there we'll be looking at signage.
Thank you.
So I'll have to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Bridge? I think Councillor Duffy was first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bridge, it would appear that last year someone here at Wyre took the decision to no longer issue the yearly waste collection calendars that had been sent out in previous years to all residents in the borough. The reason I think it's this, and I quote, to help reduce the amount of waste we generate, unquote. Well, this claim is then directly contradicted by what Wyre said next, that an announcement that Viola staff would attach a revised Christmas collection schedule to all affected domestic waste bins several weeks prior to Christmas's revised collection times. I know not everyone had them, but obviously they went on certain bins. But again, obviously if they came off, I should have had one, didn't have one, it was either not put on or it came off, adding to waste. But I appreciate that residents can access Wyre's website to view the calendar, but I've had several residents asking why, and colleagues here at Parish Council over there, asking why Wyre have stopped sending the physical copy out and expressing concern that they struggle with technology and find it quite daunting at times to navigate many websites. We even have one of the lay members from the Audit and Standing Committee here at Wyre expressing their deep concerns that the decision taken to not send out the calendar is at direct odds with the Council's own equality and diversity policy. Therefore, can I request that the physical version of the calendar is reinstated, albeit a bit late, and perhaps possibly sent out with council tax bills in a few weeks' time. And that brings me on, further again, to more waste, and that's once again the state of many of the alleys and streets in Fairfield. This is, it's not a recent problem, it's ongoing, ever-increasing nightmare, and I totally agree it's people-made. And it's mainly due to those not adhering to the correct use of domestic waste bins. They overfill them, they put side waste down, which is then ripped open and consequently ends up strewn around the alleys and then further exacerbated by fly tipping. I've been in discussion with officers, including the new 2 environmental personnel, and I'm hoping to meet up with them soon and try and formulate a way forward. Because to continue with the revolving door of re-report, why remove, re-report, why remove, it's not sustainable, it's not an answer. A more permanent solution is needed. And I have sent some ideas and suggestions to the officers. And can I ask that when I follow them, you do take a serious look and consider them. Monies might be involved to try and sort it out, but obviously money spent on them is money saved in the future. Can I just say, talking about waste and cost, can I just quickly add that the 2 street senior employees that are assigned to Fairless Ward, apart from the daily stuff they have to do, it's an absolute nightmare for them. Today they've cleared, or started to clear, Ash Street and North Albion Street. It was a nightmare. They've done 2 wagon loads today and they have not finished. So can you pass on my thanks to those guys on the ground in Fairless Ward who, again, it's a revolving door for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Bridge.
Absolutely. As I always say, we have fantastic people working for us and working hard. It is a human problem, all this, as you just said. But we recognise that it's essential for a part of quality of life. More than happy to look at any suggestions. If we can improve it, then let's improve it. But I've not seen any yet. But I'm happy to. Thank you. I'll have a good look and I'll talk to the officers. With regard to the calendars, I think I'm right saying we are issuing them next year. we're planning on issuing them for the next year, as it were. I was once called by one of my neighbours a binfluencer, and if you're not sure, I know it's not easy in rural areas, but if you're out and about, if you look at your neighbours to see who's put the bin out, unless you get the odd lunatic that I've got that puts them all out. So that is one solution. I understand about people being finding it difficult sometimes to access the website, etc. We will be introducing, we will reintroduce listings. I can't give you a date.
I was going to say, you can't send the late amount late for
Can I jump in?
this year.
If I can jump in, Mr. Mayor, the reason they weren't sent out this year, Councillor Duffy, and to anybody else who's had complaints with my process. Sorry. Because I've had handwritten letters from residents. So, obviously, if you send them out with a council tax, then they're not all on the same bin day. So it's incredibly difficult for us to align our standard, send out a letter to everybody against all those different bin wagon routes and days and all the rest of it. Normally, they only hand deliver them when they're doing the bins. But this year, because of the demands of rolling out the food waste, they don't have the capacity to do it. So it's not a decision that's been taken by any person or whatever to cancel them. It's literally just, if Veolia are doing that, we're going to miss our deadlines, we're going to miss collections, etc. So we had to take the decision that something had to give, and this year it was that. They'll be back next year, but there's no easy solution to fixing it this year. It's just one of those necessary evils, unfortunately.
I think, so I will say, I'm not rowing with it, I think the biggest problem was that the reason given was that it was to save waste, and that obviously was
not right.
wrong. Thank you.
I think we've got Councillor Ellison next.
Can we just interject for a second on that subject, on the bin subject?
Sorry, I was just going to say we've got printed and laminated bin collection days at the Town Council office. If anybody in Fleetwood could come and pick one up, get to the office, we've got them in the office.
I feel like council tax, don't you?
We love Fleetwood Town Council.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Going to praise Councillor Bridge, really. Pleased to hear that Poulton Park volunteers have won the Gold Award for Wyre and Bloom volunteers and community groups. Fantastic. Also pleased to hear that Jenny Phillips, associated with the group, has achieved an award for outstanding contribution. So absolutely proper on that one. I know Jenny quite well, so it's a great achievement. Consideration for tree planting work on 2.3 of your report. You mentioned that there's 50 standard broadleaf trees to be planted in suitable locations across the council public open spaces. So basically, we're hoping that more can be planted in Thornton, King George's Plainfield, Poulton Park, and any suitable location in Marshall Walk. That would be fantastic if you consider that. And also, my praise goes to your team that worked over the Christmas period. I know there was some issues with high winds during that time. I know some of the spillages that happened was all clean, no concerns or anything like that. So praise for them there. So, quick question. Last Wednesday there was a flight incident on Anchors on Lane, reference by 005740. Near the hazardous sports ground. Is there any news on the prosecution on that one, please?
Councillor Bridge.
We have been investigating it. So you just got the date on that. Yeah, if you've just got Peter's portfolio as well as part of.
I had an email from Simon at Hasbro about it about 4 or 5 days ago. I think whenever it happened, it must have been the next day that he sent me an email. So spoke to Mark Billington yesterday about it at management board. And if there's a solution we can come to, because of course as a council we've got to pay for it to be taken away, and if we can find a solution to put some kind of block there to stop people from driving down, because it is a dead end. But we've got to see whether the farms are using it off either side. So we're going to go on the site visit and have a look and see what we can do. So hopefully we might find a solution for it. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Councillor.
With regard to the trees, big fan of planting trees. Well, drop me an email with suggestions about where you would like to meet, and we'll have a look.
Thank you.
And we are so blessed with all of our volunteers. I've never seen anything like it. From everything from friends at Park, at Fleetwood, to Poulton-le-Fylde, to they're wonderful. They just are. We are blessed with having residents who step up and spend their time and effort and money, sometimes their own money, to keep Wyre a beautiful place in which to live.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. It appears that we've reached the end of the consideration of the Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces Portfolio Holders Report. So we're now going to move on to the report of the Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio Holder. Councillor Le Marinel, will you introduce your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Report before councillors have to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Right, Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rather than comment on the planning report at item 10, I thought it wise to comment now, because I'm after a change of procedure, and I'm hoping you can help expedite a resolution to this issue I'm going to highlight. The report at item 10 states that 98% of all applications have been decided under delegated powers. All this has meant that only 24 applications were considered by the Planning Committee in 2025. I believe that more applications need to go to committee, and I'm confident that the public also want to see more democracy in action. Now, I'd encourage all councillors to scrutinise the weekly list that the planning team issue to us. Doing so should help increase the number of applications being considered by the planning committee. But I also want to highlight a recent issue which has had a detrimental impact. I have copied you into an email to Head of Planning, but I feel the issue needs bringing to the attention of all councillors. Some months ago, the practice of placing resident planning application comments on the planning portal was stopped. After making an inquiry, I understand the reason for doing so was because it was time consuming, there were difficulties in redacting certain data and concerns about data breaches. Although this change in procedure may not affect a councillor's ability to call in an application, what it does do is make the councillor's job harder and ultimately reduce the chances of an application being called in. Given the 2% call-in rate, I see this as an issue which needs a swift resolution. Comments made by residents help councillors understand what issues exist, which in turn helps determine whether or not to call in an application. For planning committee members, although they see an abridged version of all the comments in a planning report, what they are no longer able to see is the full context of those comments. This is a retrograde step. The comments could be restored to the planning portal for viewing by councillors and residents, but there may be better solutions. One possible solution, which I don't think is realistic, is to arrange councillor viewing of the physical planning file in the Civic Centre. I see that as an inconvenient backward step to the process of 20 years ago. If restoring comments to the planning portal is not considered the best way forward, then we need a solution whereby a councillor has electronic access to the unredacted comments. From a resident perspective, they are now in a position of not being able to see comments from other residents until the planning report is produced. But again, this is only a summary. Taking myself back 20 years when I spoke from the public gallery as a resident on a number of occasions, I recall preparing for that speech by reading all resident comments. With only 4 people allowed to speak at the committee, this procedural change is increasing the chances that the committee will not hear all relevant issues. Without restoration of comments to the portal, I'm not sure what the solution is. I hope you can seek a resolution for the benefit of councillors and residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marinel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Rob, for that. Thanks for your email earlier on as well. So there's 3 parts to it. So we can either publish everything, publish nothing, or go in the middle, which is what we were doing before, which is basically redact everything. I have to read every single comment from every single resident, redact all the personal details, redact everything within the comments they've made that are not pertinent or illegal or whatever it might be. that is massively time consuming. Just the other day on the Normos one was 175 comments came in, the 75 on another application, 250 within a few days came in. The amount of work to actually read every single one, redact everything is just a massive amount of work. Currently, Blackpool, Lancaster and West Lancs publish everything. So literally, when a resident goes on there, they'll put their name, their address, everything will be on there, whatever they write will be on there as well. So that will probably stop some residents from writing in, I would imagine, because they won't want to know what other people, what they're writing basically. So that's a difficult part of it. To do that would mean we would have nothing, we wouldn't do anything, we would just leave everything on there like the other three authorities do. We could publish nothing, which is what we currently do. One change we did make when we started to publish nothing was we put a counter on, so all new applications that come forward, it will say how many objections there are, negative objections, or how many there are in favour of the application. So it does have that on there. So we're going to go back and look at it again. We're not sure what we're going to do. We're going to look at all three and we'll make a decision about what we're going to do. But if it's publish everything, then you've got to realise that residents will see everything that everybody writes, so it's very difficult. So, but we are going to look at it, and we've got a meeting on the 19th of February about it, so we'll let you know what comes of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Marinell. Councillor Lady Dulcie Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. Firstly, could I say a very big thank you to Steve Smith and Fiona Riley at the planning policy meeting. They went through the new planning policy framework, and I apologise to councillors for the large amount of paper you've been given this evening, but I think it's worth reading, the 125 pages.
I did the course.
I did the course, yes. And I have to say, I thought that actually Steve and Fiona did a remarkable job and were far superior to the workshop that was held yesterday. And secondly, Mr. Chairman, I do always check the weekly planning applications. And am I right in thinking that under the new policy framework with regards to committees, planning committees, are we going to have the same amount of authority to be able to look at every application that comes before, that's been called in? Are we going to be able to do that? I'd like to know, Mr. Mayor, because I think we've got a very big change coming up in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dulcie. Steve Smith and Fiona do a massive amount of work. I'm just in awe of the amount of stuff that they do and how well that they put across to councillors in any meetings that they have. I think that's really good, and I will probably agree. I'm glad I missed the meeting yesterday online, given by the government. So I will probably agree, Steve and Fiona, the way they explain things are nice, straightforward, and with the right amount of information that you need. Just going on to the other part of that, you are right. The new changes by the government that are bringing in on the NPPF and the way planning committees work, they don't want planning committees to actually make any decisions, and they're going to take away certain sides of applications that will only be delegated by officers. So the 2% that's currently there will go even work less than the 2% that currently got. And this is decisions made by this government, again, by putting the finger in the air, wetting it and deciding that that's a great idea, because that's all that seems to be behind some of the decisions that they've made. And I know from speaking to some of my colleagues on the Labour side, they agree with me. Yeah. They agree with some of these planning decisions, these planning policies that have come forward from the government are just completely bonkers. And they talk about democracy, taking more planning decisions away from the planning committee is absolutely wrong on every single level. So yes, you are right. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going. We'll have to see what goes. It's not been completely decided yet, but that is the way that it's going. That's the way it's been flowing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, they might do it.
Thank you, Councillor, for your report. So that concludes the consideration of the Planning Policy and Economic Portfolio Holders report. So we're now going to move on to the report of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holder. So, Councillor Berry, would you like to deliver your report, please?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to mention one matter before introducing my report. Fleetwood councillors will be aware that an underground outfall pipe runs from the Fleetwood treatment plant to the coastline, then out to the sea, to the Loon Deeps. taking residual water after it's gone through all the cleansing processes at the treatment plant. We've now been notified by United Utilities that they are improving the resilience of this operation and proposing to have a new underground pipeline running from the treatment plant to the coastline. For a substantial part of the route, it will keep relatively close to the route of the existing pipeline. The exception to this is that the present pipe runs for quite some distance below King George's playing fields. It's proposed that the new pipe will run underneath the playing fields of Cardinal Allen School. Whilst you say they have consulted with the school, I've asked the Council's Head of Engineering Services, Carl Green, to have discussions with UU and the school to make sure that disruption is kept to a minimum and the safety and well-being of pupils and staff are maintained. The pipeline will be constructed by having a series of deep shafts through which the equipment passes to break through the soil and lay the pipe deep below the surface. When the new pipeline is completed, the existing pipeline will be retained as a backup. UU say they are arranging a local residents consultation meeting and propose to attend the next Fleetwood Town Council meeting. If any council wants any further information on this, I will speak to them after this meeting, but the route has not been settled. It's got to be subject to surveys and obviously negotiations with the landowners, so there is quite some time to go before things will start. But I understand that they will be doing some sort of a preliminary survey work in the area to test which is going to be the best route for them. But that's the indicative route at the moment, which I've indicated. Other than that, Mr Mayor, my report's before colleagues, and I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Thank you, Councillor. We have Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's more information, please, Councillor Berry. The first week of December, the LCC consultation regarding the redesign of Victoria Road Cleavers ended. I was wondering if you've got any information off LCC regarding dates, if or when this is going ahead. During the Christmas period, a few businesses got in touch with me asking if I had any information, if it is starting, when, because obviously the works will be outside their shops and premises, and if we know anything on this council, if it's going forward. Thank you.
I don't have any information, Council. I think we better get that through to you. I mean, it may be that the County Councillor can take it up as well to see where highways at LCC are, because they are a mystery to themselves from time to time.
Nobody answered the phone. Thank you.
Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Section 2, Community Safety. I've noticed that the Wyre Business Against Crime scheme isn't being introduced in Thornton. May I ask why this is, please?
Thank you, Councillor.
I think it's been a consultation as to why it is absolutely necessary. I think that the areas that we've mentioned are the ones that are priority ones. I'm not saying that there isn't any issues and problems at the Thornton Centre, but I mean, it's something that can be extended. It's sort of the start of a process, and I see no reason why businesses, in Thornton cannot join in the system if they want to. It's a system that's open to everyone, apparently, so by all means go for it, but at least let's see how it goes in those designated areas and make sure that it works properly before we commit ourselves totally. But I'm hoping that businesses will benefit, because it's certainly needed. And I know in Cleveland especially, it's not the casual shoplifter, it's usually gangs, organised gangs coming in and really going through a shop like nothing, like a dose of salt, and it's really sad to see, because it does affect businesses and their capacity to run on the high street.
Yeah, thank you. Follow on from that, can the, I don't know if you know that, can the businesses join the scheme after the trial period?
Well, I don't see why they can't. I mean, it's a voluntary system, to be quite honest, and I'm sure we can, you know, the more the better, because it makes everyone's job a lot easier, to be quite honest. I think it's a very useful service, to be quite honest.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Berry. Councillor Fayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regard to your housing report, the new Renters' Rights Act should be welcomed by us all. Wyre housing stock has 68% with a D or lower energy rating, and 28% of all properties are below the minimum standard. This Act will drive up energy and housing standards, as well as reducing the chances of homelessness. The Act strengthens local authority enforcement powers, and although this may require operational changes at Wyre, I hope you agree that greater powers is a good thing and is well overdue.
Yeah.
Councillor Berry.
Yeah, we're ready, and we'll be operating the system. We're ready to go, and we're taking advice how best to run the system. But I will just mention that those provisions that you mentioned, you know, will be further down the line, to be quite honest. I think the initial state is obviously the powers we got to monitor that landlords are understanding and obeying the new system of the tenancies, that they can't give the Section 21 notice. They've got to go through the courts and try and obtain possession on the designated grounds. So then after that, my understanding is that there will be further provisions for the registration system. Now that hopefully will come in later in the year for landlords to register their businesses. That will come in a bit later in the year. We don't know whether that will be based on a nationwide basis or whether it will be local basis. I'm hoping it's going to be a local basis, obviously, so that we have those records easily. And it means that tenant landlords will have to, you know, sort of mention when they've got the gas and electric certificates, etc., and energy performance certificates. After that, further down the line, are these bettering standards, you know, up to the C value. So it's going to move along, but it's moving in a way that hopefully will be manageable for everybody, and we'll do our best at the council to make sure that it meets the requirements of the Act.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. That concludes the consideration of the neighbourhood services. Now we've got another hand. Go on.
It comes really down to the Wyre Business Against Crime platform. I just wanted to ask, have the council already paid anything towards this platform? And if so, what contribution has been made? And what provisions are in place to stop details within it being misused? And why, when local business owners are already likely to live locally and therefore pay council tax for their home and then business rates, which include paying for police services, should they, in such difficult times for businesses, have to then find another £50 a year to fund a service they effectively should already be receiving? This surely should be fully funded by the council, but otherwise where is the incentive for the council to put pressure on the police to do better and deal with genuine criminals appropriately?
Councillor.
I don't agree with you. I think this is a system that helps that businesses protect themselves. They've got certain duties to look after the business and to look after the staff at the same time. I think it's a good scheme which will add to the resilience. The police have quite a substantial job to do, and it will assist them and us in making sure that these areas are kept free from offenders. I'm not aware of any payment being made by the council to us. I think it's being paid by those subscribing to the system. Quite frankly, I think it's a wonderful system, to be quite honest. What was the other part? There was another issue that you did mention.
Well, I just want to mention there, though, that there's no criticism necessarily there within the scheme. You answered as though there was. The bit that you failed to answer. I'm not too sure what that was.
Have I answered that?
Who paid for it?
I've been misused.
We haven't paid for it, have we?
Misuse.
No.
I'm just also...
Yeah, that is a good question. The scheme is compliant with all data protection and GDPR, and there is some sort of control by an administrator, so it has inbuilt controls and processes, so it is covered by the scheme. we've been assured that it's fully compliant with those processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I think that concludes the questions. So that concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holders Report. So we're now going to move on to the report of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holder. So Councillor Bowen, would you like to deliver your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report's before you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions if you raise your hand? Now we have two. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bowen, 2.2 of your report highlights the work Wyre is doing to support and encourage more active lifestyles for children and young people in the borough, which I'm very pleased to note. So do you agree with me that it is very disappointing to find out that the reform-led Lancashire County Council is proposing to dispose of a much-used recreational facility in Fairosward? The proposed closure site houses the old Milton Street School and is home to an artificial football pitch, netball court and kids' playground. Over the past 2 years, I have personally put in a lot of time and effort into gaining small improvements at the site through the constant lobbying of county and utilising resources such as the community payback team and through the generous donation of paint from a local independent business nearby. Now, the site does still require work and updating, but that should not be a reason to just dispose of it. After all, we're in an era where we mend things, we recycle, we don't just dump something the minute it needs a bit of investment. Studies have shown, though, that due to the rising popularity of computers and gaming consoles, children are becoming more and more sedentary. And consequently, as a result, obesity is on the rise. The fact that we have many children using this football pitch and in all weathers, they're out there in the rain and all sorts, and the fact that the play area is utilised by younger children and families, should we not be encouraging more families to do the same, encouraging activity rather than closing such areas? Now, I'm sure this is not the first time this site has been scrutinised by the County Council to see if the building and grounds could be sufficiently utilised to provide value for money for taxpayers. Thankfully, in the past though, Fleetwood have been lucky enough to have county councillors, both Labour and the occasional Conservatives, that have the drive to resolve the passion of the area and who would have been at the forefront in saving this facility. However, this time round I am somewhat disheartened by written comments that I have seen from the Reform County Councillor for the ward to the Reform portfolio holder concerned with the county's assets. The councillor wrote, amongst other things, and I quote, "This looks very bad for reform, and so we must be seen to be standing up for the community," unquote. He doesn't say how imperative that we get the proposed closure stopped. In fact, he seems more interested in what I am going to do and say tonight, as evidenced in his correspondence to his reform colleague, and saying just enough to try and deflect the blame from reform local councils rather than actually extolling the possibilities for the area or generally pushing for the site's retention. So, Councillor Bowen, are you along with me concerned that this time again, around this site and its amenities may be lost for good if we end up relying on all too silent Reform County councillors to do the right thing? And this isn't scaremongering, Councillor Ellison. This is a ward councillor being proactive in trying to save a local loved amenity. Thank you.
Just say yes.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. We need to encourage children to be outside, having sports, getting active. They're already saying that they want them off social media, and all we can do to encourage children to go outside and play like that is fantastic. And it's very remiss of the reform councillors to want to just bin a playing field like that. In fact, it's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. And I think that if I don't see why they can't get into some kind of negotiations with the local people. I'm sure they can find some funding to keep it open as a child.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Para 3.1 of your report refers to tourism and the delivering of an economic boost. Day trip tourism is good, but overnight stay tourism is essential for economic growth. And on that point, I see from the last overview and scrutiny agenda an aspiration in the nighttime economy strategy for a new Cleveland's hotel. A good aspiration that would indeed deliver an economic boost. But here's a couple of observations. Firstly, the wish for a promenade-facing hotel may be preferential, but I really do hope, indeed expect, this doesn't mean the re-emergence of the 2003 plans to put a travel lodge, fast food restaurants and car parks on Jubilee Gardens. If that's the plan, we should stop now. If it is the plan, this council can expect to reap the same whirlwind that this council felt the force of back in 2003. Secondly, of course, there are sensible options available. For instance, there is an opportunity in one fell swoop to open a high-quality hotel, reopen a much-loved bar, and at the same time protect an historic and currently empty building from demolition by developers who might otherwise seek to profit at the expense of our town. I refer, of course, to the Victoria Hotel. And the council, if it was ambitious, could lead the way in restoring a fantastic building back to how it was in its prime. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you like to respond, Councillor?
We can only look at what comes in to be built. We can't force people to build hotels, and we can't force businesses to invest in Cleveland's. But I agree with you. Yeah, we do need a nice high quality hotel. It would be great because we haven't got any, I don't think, anyway. And to encourage tourism as well, especially with all the people that are coming to the film sets now. We're doing really well. So yeah, a good quality hotel would be great if somebody will come along and build one.
Well, you don't need to build one, there's the point. You've got a Victoria Hotel there.
Well, there's one already built.
Thank you. We have one more question from Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am in a praising mood still, so I was just going to say, my kids attended the night golf, albeit got soaked, but had a really good time, so thank you for all the team involved in the night golf.
Yeah, thanks for that. We try to get as many sports and activities that are available, and it's really good for these people that have opened that business to encourage them to go and play. Thank you.
That concludes the consideration of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holders Report. So now is the opportunity for members of the Cabinet to make comments or ask questions on the reports of their colleagues. Do any Cabinet members wish to do so? Right answer.
Yeah, I would like to ask Councillor Berry a question. Do you know anything about the incident in Creasall just after Christmas where there was two men running about, one with a machete? I know one of them got arrested. Have you heard any more about that?
In all honesty, no, I haven't, to be quite honest. Once an arrest is made, it goes through the prosecution process, to be quite honest, and then unfortunately we tend to lose that until it comes before a court, to be quite honest. So it has to go through through the process of whether a prosecution is going to take place, which obviously looks as though it will do, but we've got to wait for that process to be carried through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other Cabinet members wish to ask questions of anyone? Right answer. So that concludes the consideration of executive reports. So now we'll move on to agenda item number 8, which is localised council tax support scheme. So Councillor McKay, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Yeah, the report's before members, and I'd like to propose the recommendation at 3.1.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Just to say that obviously Wyre, we raised our support to up to 100% a few years ago because we thought it was the right thing to do. There are still councils in Lancashire, Burnley, Hyndburn, Rossendale, West Lancashire, Blackpool, who charge, in some cases, quite significant percentages to the most sort of deprived people in their boroughs for the council tax. We don't think that's the right thing to do. I'm quite proud to set it at up to 100% relief. Unfortunately, it appears that this may be one of the reasons why the government thinks they can cut our budget, but it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do.
Well said. Thank you. Are there any comments, questions or amendments? Councillor Sorensen.
I apologise, maybe this is a little out of turn, but I've got a question to put to Councillor Bridge, if I may, quickly. This relates to trees, and it also covers the matter of crime, because there's also the issue of... I just wondered if I could, if I can't, that's fine, not a problem. Okay.
Right. Any more Cabinet members? No? So, Councillor Mackay, as the proposer of the recommendation, would you please respond to the debate if you wish to?
Yeah, I'll just back everything Councillor Vincent said. We do the right thing at this council and support those most vulnerable.
So that can concludes the debate. So could we have members please vote now on the recommendation? Those in favour, show. Looks like the recommendation is approved. Thank you. So the next item is members' allowance scheme. I was waiting for hisses while I turned the page over. Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty sure Councillor Fair wants to speak. He seems very keen to get his hand pulled through. Yeah, look, this is set by an independent remuneration panel. Members have the right to speak at that panel. We don't get involved in setting it. We don't get involved in it at all. They make a recommendation. For years, we said that we didn't want them to increase our allowances during the financial crisis and during the time of austerity when our staff didn't receive any pay rise. It wasn't right that our allowances would go up. So we followed it then, and my submission to members is we should follow it now.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I know there are going to be questions, comments or amendments. I think Councillor Fail wants to do one or the other.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reflecting on what happened last year might help councillors decide the best course of action this evening. I think this is important because I'm not sure everyone was paying attention that night. So to refresh your minds, last year it was proposed that the basic allowance paid to each councillor be increased by an inflation busting 5.4%. The Labour group felt that we should not be awarding ourselves an increase that was above the current rate of inflation. So we put forward a compromise amendment of 2.5%, which Reform supported along with the Independents and one Conservative. The vote on the amendment was sadly lost 25 to 21, and the substantive 5.4% increase recommendation was then passed, despite the Labour group having voted against it. So this year, if we all pay attention, a certain party might just avoid making similar false claims about how the Labour voted. Last year the claim against Labour was, it's all about the money, 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 claiming we voted for the increase, when in actuality Labour were the only ones to vote against the 5.4% increase. The laughable irony being that the party making the false claims actually voted for the 5.4% increase themselves. You couldn't make this stuff up. It was priceless. Anyway, back to this evening. One thing we should remind ourselves is that this is an allowance, it isn't a wage. We don't have to keep in line with salaried staff. Another thing to consider is that this council is coming to an end, so it will be for the new unitary to consider the longer term issue of attracting councillors. 3.2% could be seen as acceptable if Labour's 2.5% amendment had passed last year. So rather than a 2.5% increase last year and the 3.2% increase this year, it suggested we just stick with the 5.4% last year and reject the proposed increase this year. I appreciate the Wyre Labour Group could have made recommendations to the remuneration panel, but what we are proposing would probably be outside their remit. So the Labour Group therefore wish to put forward an amendment for an allowance freeze. Thank you.
Rebecca Huddleston, would you please state or advise whether or not the amendment is valid?
Yes, I accept that amendment.
Is there a seconder for the amendment? Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Do any members wish to speak either for or against the amendment with a maximum time limit of 5 minutes? Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, sir. It's ultimately for members to decide what they think. But as I said in the introduction, accept what you're saying about where inflation was last year, 2.5%. It's 3.2% this year, so it is exactly the same as inflation. So by any metric, it's achieving that. And as I said at the start, it's not a wage. You're right, Councillor Fale, it's an allowance. But for years and years and years and years, it didn't go up. And the 5.4% that you said was inflation busting was just tied to what the officers got, which is what the independent remuneration panel would recommend. So again, this is not us voting for a pay rise. This is us saying, do we accept the independent panel or not? Are we always just going to not accept their findings when they say no increase and then accept it when there is? It doesn't work that way, because otherwise, you know, I get it's not a wage, but equally we all put a lot of time into this, and if you want to attract people to stand for election, then yeah, if we'd frozen it at the £2,000 or so it was when I first started, or whatever it was, then this would be quite an empty chamber. But all I would say is that in Wales, it's set centrally for the all councils in Wales. If you're a lower tier authority, up tier, however it works, it's set centrally, and the increases are set centrally. I would favour that for England when unitary authorities come in. I think this decision should be taken out of the hands of councils and councillors completely. I don't think it's something we should be debating here, because it's just open to be a political football. But there's an independent panel that's made a recommendation. I'll be voting in favour of it. It's up to the rest of you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there anybody else who wants to make comments on the amendment? Councillor Fale, do you want to respond to that?
I don't think there's anything to respond to other than just to say, can I have a recorded vote, please?
Each four of you.
You two and
Yeah.
doesn't vote.
I think you have. You've got to decline.
Have we got to stand up, have we?
If only we had the machine,
So Rebecca Huddleston, would you please read out members' names for a recording vote?
Okay, so this is, just a reminder, this is voting on the amendment to freeze the any increase. Councillor Amos.
Against.
Councillor Dulcie Atkins.
Against.
Councillor Robert Atkins.
Against.
Councillor Baxter.
Again.
Councillor Belshaw.
For.
Councillor Berry.
Against.
Councillor Birch.
Against.
Councillor Blair.
For.
Councillor Bowen.
Against.
Councillor Bridge,
Against.
Councillor Cartridge,
Against.
Councillor Catterall,
Against.
Councillor Collinson,
Against.
Councillor Crawford,
For.
Councillor Duffy,
For.
Councillor Ellison,
For.
Councillor Fail,
For.
Councillor Fielding,
For.
Councillor Hicks,
For.
Councillor Ibbison,
Against.
Councillor Jones,
For.
Councillor Kay,
Against.
Councillor Marinell,
Against.
Councillor Lee,
Against.
Councillor Livesey,
Against.
Councillor Martin,
For.
Councillor McKay,
Against.
Councillor Meekins,
Against.
Councillor Minto,
Against.
Councillor Molyneux,
For.
Councillor Nichols,
Against.
Councillor Preston,
Against.
Councillor Rayner,
For.
Councillor Rendell,
Against.
Councillor Rimmer,
For.
Councillor Robinson,
Against.
Councillor Rushforth,
Against.
Councillor Sorensen,
For.
Councillor Stevenson,
For.
Councillor Swatton, Councillor Swift, Councillor Thulis,
Against.
Councillor Vincent,
Against.
Councillor A. Walker,
For.
Councillor Steve Walker.
For.
So we have 18 for and 27 against. So the amendment's lost. So we'll therefore continue to debate the original motion. However, if there is a majority in favour, we'll just go to a vote, or we've got to go further than that. So any questions on the original proposal?
Just take the vote. Move to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Let's move to the vote. Thank you. All for. Any against? Do we have any abstentions? The recommendation's approved. We now move on to item 10, which is the periodic report from the planning committee. So, Councillor Rendell, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, you have my report for you, and I will be happy to take any questions. However, I would just like to thank Steve Smith and his team for the great work that they do and for their guidance and support. However, I don't always agree with them.
Feels like it.
Do we we have any comments or questions for Councillor Rendell? Councillor Marinell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a big thank you to Richard and to all of the committee members that have been here. I know how hard they work because I did it for 4 years. It's not easy to make some decisions sometimes. It's very difficult. And I'm sure coming down the line what the government have got involved is going to make it even more difficult for you. But I know that you work really hard and I appreciate everything you do. I know you know I come to most of the meetings to observe and I just think it's well run and I just appreciate everything that the committee do on behalf of the residents of Wyre. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Do we have anyone else? I'll take that as no then. So, Councillor Rendell, would you like to respond?
Just say thank you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank Councillor Marinell for his kind words and also to emphasise my thanks to all the committee members, irrespective of their leaning.
Thank you, I'm sure that's appreciated. So the report is noted. Next item is item 11, the periodic report, lead member for children and young people. So Councillor Kay, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report's before you, councillors. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'd just like to note, thank you to Shelley Birch for her continuous support. Without her, I won't be able to do this position. Thank you.
Do we have any comments or questions for the councillor? Lady Dulcie.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a very big thank you to Andrea for coming along to the opening of the mega racing gas stand. It's being used a lot, and little people on scooters up and down those ramps is brilliant. Yeah. So thanks to everybody on the offices. Thank you.
No other questions or comments? Councillor Kay, if you'd like to respond to that.
I'd just like to say it was enjoyable to go to the skate park after promoting skateboarding within this council 18 years ago. So it was really nice to go and see the youth of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The report's noted. There's the business of the evening. Thank you, everyone. There are no notices of motion, so I'll now bring this meeting to a close. Thank you all for attending.